A couple logistics as we dive into Peglin today. I have been, and I will continue to be sneakyteak, resident broadcast personality. That's me. This is a trident. So pleased to be here today to start climbing that Crucible with you all. First experience with the brand new leveled Crucible system in Peglin. They are cranking out these updates. Next major update, Haglin. That means they're going to integrate a real shop system, which means that there will be a real need for a currency system of some sort. So expect big things on the Peglin front over the next several months. For today, Crucible, we will see where it takes us. And so we got to get into the Peglin cave ASAP so we can enjoy ourselves, get a little gaming done. As we dive into the Crucible, you know the rules. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, or concerns, please let me know, because today, as with all days, I'm here to peg with you and not at you. No further ado. Peglin. Click. Crucible. Click. Strange Brew. Refreshes and crits contribute to damage. I'm a fan of this. Also, Gardener's Glove, attacks deal plus 10 damage to plants, and Rallying Heart, post-battle healing is increased by 1% for each orb. I don't mind the Rallying Heart, but it did get nerfed. Let's take Strange Brew. My mustache! Get out! Why does it do this? I'm gonna start shaving that bad boy. Straight razor shave down to the skin. Get out of my nose. You're not welcome. So, this is not at its strongest right at the beginning of a Crucible run. Wait, it's not the Crucible demo anymore. We're in Crucible 1. So we actually have 4 special pegs to start. Okay, so this is substantial because one of the best ways to scale damage throughout a run is to get more refresh and more crit effects and stack them up, turning those into also effective pegs for damage. I don't know how much, but I would guess that this might be as much as like a 5 or 10% damage increase. So not insubstantial, right? Maybe not as big as some of the largest effects. It's probably not a Power Glove, as an example. It's probably not Refilibuster, as we discussed in the Discord. But it's not bad, right? We know this. When are we going to start working on the God tier shots in map 1? What's worse, mustache hairs pretend to be nose hairs or vice versa? I mean, from a comfort perspective, it's definitely the mustache hairs that are worse. From a, arbitrary attractiveness standpoint, I mean, yeah, nobody wants to stare at your rogue nose hairs that have climbed back out. It's certainly low on the list. Right, let's start dropping bombs on these fools. Also, where are we going? Oh. An opportunity to fight an elite on floor 4. That's so early. I don't know about that, Twitch chat, but I do want this triple dipple relic situation. Maybe we're just gonna get some freaking upgrades today. Let's try it. It's been a long time since I hit that road. It's been a long time, been a long time, been a long lonely time. For the longest time, we've assumed that question marks are the strongest node outside of exactly relics and elites. But maybe it's time for us to investigate a fight-heavy path again. Boom. Hey, Toskos, welcome. Hope you're well. Ice, slimy. Oh! Have we cleared enough of a path? We're pretty good. Boing. I want to find the angle where it just goes bounce, 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 bounce. Like, it should be theoretically possible. There's no friction in this game. Like. Lick and subscribe if you love me? She said no. He was heartbroken. You think we can get to this? I'm struggling. Yes! Nice. Oh, wow. If that isn't just every orb. Between Baborb and Poltorbgeist, how the heck would we decide? It's just bombs. This continues probably to be the best thing in the game. Avogadro? I mean, I like some of the things that we can do with Poltorbgeist, there's no doubt. And in the long run, it's very fun to attack with Orb. But Bomb's so strong right now. Bomb's so strong right now. Going left, skirting the left side path, maximizing fights, staying open to take the elite, should we be prepared to do so. Which we very well may be, actually, with Baborb start. It's about as strong as it gets, no? We might actually be totally freaking set and loaded and set. Look at that. Look at that bounce. Bomb touch. Smash. I think I'm gonna buy a new desk. Ah, right. The slimes cycle the position of the bombs on this level. I had forgotten. I went ahead and used a Baborb there because setting up more bombs seemed like it was probably the strongest thing we could do. And I'm feeling validated in my decision making. Upgrorb? Baborm? Going left. Yeah, Aerial Bliss said, from my experience, Baborb is just leagues better than every other orb in the game right now. It's going to be the single hardest balancing act in the game from my perspective, Aerial Bliss, is how to make it to where bombs don't feel like they're just better than the other options. Because you want bombs to be strong, and frankly, the early game is balanced around bombs being strong. But in order for bombs to be relevant in the early game, in a real way, and to be the stabilizing force, to let the early game be about working the map, it's very hard to make them fall off enough without substantial damage exponentiation, right? And that's the way that some games do it. It's the bomb is 50 damage when enemies have 80 life, but then in the next act they have 800, and then the next they have 8,000, right? And this game kind of tries to do that, but in practice it ends up meaning that one of the best ways to stay up is to keep doing bombs, but to just take Sapper Sack and turn them into mega bombs, right? It's like, it kind of ends up being a self-defeating thing. So none of this, to be clear, is any major judgment on the joy or quality or, you know, fun of playing the game. Otherwise, I wouldn't have played it so much and put it on YouTube so much. But from the perspective of watching early access balance, it's the biggest challenge that they have ahead of them. That's the hardest thing that I think Red Nexus will do, is figure out how to keep a compelling and diverse balance given that bombs exist in the game. And I don't know what the answer is. I really don't know how they're going to solve this problem, but I have faith. One of the things that you can always do is, as long as the game is balanced such that it's possible to win without bombs, then you can do challenge runs where you don't take them. But if you're trying to, say, maximize win rate, which is a type of challenge that would be common to do in a game like this, it's hard to skip the thing that's good, right? That can end up becoming a frustrating experience very quickly. I didn't take this thing because it's too strong, and then when you lose, you can't help but think that you just lost because you didn't make the strong play, right? It's one thing if it's a challenge mode like Monster Train has, to where it just doesn't happen at all, right? If there's an actual in-game option that says bombs and bomb effects do not occur, and then it's balanced around that, cool. If you end up losing, you lost within the confines of the challenge mode. I don't know. All I know is I'm super stoked to watch. I mean, I really have loved the permission that I have as a creator to be kind of at the ground level when games like this are going through their infancy. I shouldn't say infancy. This is more like their pubescence, right? Infancy already happened. The game exists and is fun and people are aware of it. Now we're growing up. Now we're going to high school. Super fun to watch that and see how developers manage the various problems that show up during that time. Super fun. Unknown Asphalt said, bombs don't cycle without a relic. Poor placement can tank a run in Act 3 fast, though. I agree, and I also think that this is frequently overstated as far as concerns go by the community, because the truth is... Okay, think about this. Say that there was a card in Slay the Spire. Imagine that you're playing a run of Slay the Spire, Ascension 20 Heart run, and you find a card, and the card says, if you select this card, you will make it to Act 3. Once you get to Act 3, this card turns into a wound. Would you take the card? The answer is not only would you take the card, there's many cards that functionally work this way, right? And so even if Baborb was completely useless in Act 3, which it's frequently not, it's frequently still a backbone of your damage, even if Baborb fell off completely and became an active detriment in Act 3, I would still take it because of all of the consistency it gives me to get there. The early game is hard in this game, right? And so it's not actually that big of a detriment. It's not really a balancing concern for something to fall off in the later game if it's too strong in the early game, right? Tosco said, do you think bombs and or bomb synergy should be nerfed, or do they become rare as the game goes on? I don't think that you can change bombs in this game without a pretty major rework of the balance. I think there are too many interconnected considerations with bombs in this game right now. And I'm not even convinced that you would want to. It's just something I have my eyes on. Seeking a Tangent said, how do you think decreasing bomb damage in Crucible will affect balance? Majorly, I think it's going to make the early game much harder. I don't know if it'll be enough to rework the kind of tiering of what the orbs are. Yeah, Unknown said, I wouldn't be surprised to see the devs nerf bombs hard in the Ascension based on how nasty Crucible demo was. Crucible demo was so hard, I only beat it 3 times, I think, before it got reworked. Good combo, Twitch chat. Hey, I've got to say, I've said this before, but I appreciate your nuance. It is so crucial to me that I can engage in good faith with conversations about the balance of a game without it becoming a teardown. If I'm playing a game on stream, it's because I think it's very, very good. And so I don't want to be in the business of turning this into a space to where we just poo-poo games or their developers, because if I don't think it's good, I won't play it, right? And so I love that I can get into a long-form conversation about Crucible, about Orbs, about balance, in the vein of understanding the game, getting better at it as players, enjoying our experience, and thinking about what ways in the long run the game might change through early access in order to make the best and most replayable game. That's awesome, because in a lot of spaces, I wouldn't be able to start that conversation. So thank you all for engaging with nuance. It makes my job much easier. Much easier. Yes! This is why we took the Elite. We have a level 3 Baborb. We're just allowed to do this. We're just freaking allowed to do this. Look at that. Fight done. I think we finish now, and then the Lord will throw them. Wherever we go, we go. 5 damage plants. No one has ever seen this before. No one will even believe me when I tell them the story. Yo! Let's play together tonight. Can we afford to take Echo Chamber? So that's Bombulet. Bomb Necklace. Pegboards start with 2x as many bombs. Start with. This does combo with Bomb Baton, as we know from my previous Crucible attempts. And that's Echo Chamber. All attacks deal 10% of the previous attack's damage as bonus damage. Yeah, so chat has said in various ways, Jackness, I'll use your quote, I think Baborb means that you can take Echo, but Bomb Relic is just stronger. I think I agree. Like, I think we can get away with taking Echo Chamber here, but generally I think that Bombulet is just stronger. Let's take Echo Chamber. I think it'll be fun. Do something different. Do something crazy. Do something crazy. Do something crazy. Can I go out this way? That's not what I want. Should have never done this. Okay, I'm willing to take this 4 damage, and let me explain why. If we go to the right and anything goes wrong at all, we don't get our triple relics. If we go to the left, we're probably going to get the triple relics. It just gives us a little bit more room for error during pathing in this next fight. So, funny that we took 80% of the fight damage as navigation damage afterwards, but that's fine. Just getting to Baborb quickly feels like the answer. I can be the answer. It's Baborbing time. We're going to take more damage from this fight than we took from the Elite. Almost definitely. Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe not. Pew! We took less. Refresh Orb? Orbsium? Orbsium has no play with Gift That Keeps on Giving, but it does have play with the Glorious Suffering, right? That's my recollection. Orbsium insta-pops Gift That Keeps on Giving durable pegs, but it will also multi-proc Suffering. We playing Crucible, finally? Yeah, Snakebard said, your recollection about Orbsium's interactions matches mine. I think it also triggers crit multiple times for the 1.3x stacking relic. That's a cool piece of tech. That's really cool, Snakebird. Orbsium is not my favorite orb, but I want to take some kind of investment potential, right? Because right now we've got a Baborb and a bunch of starting orbs. And so Orbsium strikes me as something that could be quite strong. Truthfully, I think that the typical play there is to take the Refresh Orb, but I wanted to do something new. I think you can pretty much just take Refresh Orb there and it'll be fine. But this is interesting to me. Nick said, also out of random curiosity, do you think they could make the inverse Sealed Conviction Relic, making you discard once each round before you can shoot? I think that would be really cool. I don't know how much it would frustrate players. That's one of the hardest things to balance around in these games. It's the... this is balanced, but will it cause players to just be really mad question? Slay the Spire got to learn some of these lessons. The difference between mathematically balanced and also... it's really like a player frustration quota, right? What's very interesting to me as someone who does this for a living is how much one person's favorite can be someone else's least favorite. How big of a subjectivity there is. As an example, I love Runic Dome and I love Frozen Eye. I deeply enjoy playing around those relics, and I know lots of people who won't touch either, right? And in fact, I'm pretty sure that Casey has previously said that if he designed Slay the Spire over again, he would not have added Frozen Eye. That's not a thing that they would have built. See, this is fascinating to me. Snecko is a classic example of a historically fairly strong relic that lots of people really like, but that other people just will not touch. The psychological element is too great. It's just not to their taste. And that's okay. It's a video game. You're allowed to not want to play things. You're allowed to skip effects because they don't suit your style, right? And so when it comes to forced discard, that gets into the territory of how frustrating will that be? If you're a player and you have one orb that you love, and it discards that orb, how frustrated is that going to make you? And then you have to ask, how common is that player? I think that it's probably very common. I think that quite a lot of the player base of Peglin has a pet orb. An orb they pick up, it's their favorite orb, and every time they get it, they're so excited that they got it, and they just really want to be able to toss that orb because it's their favorite orb. In that case, you might not be able to make that relic. But I don't know. To a certain extent, you can't avoid every interesting interaction for fear of frustrating one player. There has to be a certain amount, especially in games to where you have draft that you can choose. It's okay to have options that people don't like because they can choose something else, as long as they don't feel forced, right? There's certainly games that I play a lot that I really love that have frustrating interactions that I don't really like to do. When Risk of Rain 2 first released Mithrix, I pretty much didn't fight the fight. I just obliterated because I like to do the loops. In this game, I've started to over-adjust my pathing because of how frustrated I get when I try to path and fail. So I definitely get it. Just curious which one would be harder to take. From a balance perspective, I would guess that never discard is probably easier to take than always discard, weirdly. Just because always discard can result in multiple cycles of not getting your most important orbs, and also it will result in a lot more enemy-free actions. Unless you have Buckler, then you're really going to be in trouble that way, right? So I think that probably never discard is actually easier to take than always discard. It's a great question. Thank you for asking. Well done, Steak. Okay, there's like a 0.0% chance of successfully hitting this bomb cycle, but there's no reason for us to not try. And there's no reason for us to not try because left and right are both equal. We tried. How many people take Orboros? I've been struggling with Orboros lately. By the way, Red Boko, thanks so much for the Twitch Prime in a half a year. Says, would have been here sooner, but was in the middle of your Alina video. You don't have to apologize for not being on time to a Twitch stream. It's entertainment. Come when you want. Leave when you can. Wait, come when you can. Leave when you want. There you go. Crit Somolos Fleece, one of the best scaling items in the game. Leave when you can sounds like such a threat. Yeah, it's Twitch chat California, exactly. You can check out anytime you like. But, did you know? I'm honestly gonna just keep taking fights. It's the All Fights Act. But like I said, it has been buffed, so we'll have to try it out. Also, we got Crit Somolos Fleece with Orbsium, and I just saw 200 damage, so I think you're right, Snakebird. I think that procced crit multiple times for Crit Somolos, which is super exciting, because we're about to have a level 3 Orbsium Crit Somolos combo. I don't think I've ever had that. Yo, nice. That's a huge act, Renly is. That's the biggest act I've ever heard of, actually. Because the biggest one I've done is a 5 Elite Act 1. And that was our first Crucible win. That's on the YouTube. That's a great run. You had 0x almost always be on the left side wall of the screen versus the mini wall boss. So it's been changed to be there more often for what it's worth, Surge. That was in the most recent patch. They said, the gambling chip has been changed to put the 0x in the middle less often. So you should expect to see 0x in the middle almost never, and now more towards the sides, which on most maps makes it easier to avoid, but not all. But not all. Yeah, so if that's what you're experiencing, that's consistent. Bring! Nice share. Oh, that's clever, Toscos. That would increase run lengths a lot, which is usually a non-option for these devs. But it's a great idea, having a little bit of control over where the gambling... Because it's a weighted chip, right? So you should have some control over it. Getting control over where the weighted part lands. Yeah, that's clever. Orbsium is arbitrary targeting, by the way, which I didn't use at all, but I should be using. Orbsium can target anything. All paths are go to elite now. Cool. Make bomb. Make more bomb. Make more bomb. Do bomb. Willy bomb bomb. Bonk. Uh-oh. We actually didn't get the kill. Embarrassing. Luckily, I don't think we're going to have to take a heal here. Even so. Please kill. Thank you. Now we just need a healing effect and we'll really be set. Just upgraded stone here. I don't mind a fully upgraded dagger, actually. It's pretty nice. Wait a minute. That orb. Not quite as good of a toss as our last. Notably. Oh no, I needed you to hit that. We might take a heal after this. Just to completely avoid risk of ruin. I mean, I don't think we need to, but it's a possibility. Trying to get over to these other bombs. I think that'll do it. Nice. Okay, that kills this one. And then we just need to get some good hits against the other two. Probably involves just using the cupola. Yes! Don't you shoot at me. Don't you do it. Oh! We got there! Okay, nice. Yeah, we can take an upgrade then. I'm literally upgrading a stone. Refreshive is here whenever an enemy is defeated. Refresh the board, or ambiguous amulet. Wall bounces contribute to damage. There are specific fights where this can be quite good, where you're getting pushed against a wall a lot. In general, I don't think it's that impressive. And I do think refreshing against single enemies is actually pretty nice. I don't know though, I may be underrating the relic. All right, Senor Mole. Are you ready to die? Let's fight a boss, huh?
I'm ready to fight. For my right.
That's not what I wanted. At all. Smile. Abaco is on the Switch, yes. As far as I know, can somebody check? Is it not released for Switch yet? It's supposed to be released for Switch. To my knowledge and understand. Oh. I hit a refresh with Baborb, and it converted into a bomb. I didn't know it could do that, actually. I didn't know it could do that. I was under the impression that it would wait until the first non-special peg.
Get him!
Yes! Crucible, please! Oh my, are we about to do 1,000 damage? Bruh. We win. We targeted the boss, and now we win. GG. Champion. Oh, look, the plants just stay? I didn't know this, actually. I didn't know that once you killed the boss, the plants would shoot at you and then just stick around. Taking a parting shot, that's amazing. GG. Super hot. That interaction seems like the result of Bad Brew, the first relic. You know what? You might be right. It might be that under the hood, Strange Brew puts an invisible peg underneath the special pegs, which might cause that to happen. That's actually clever. That might be true. Yeah, good call. 2 people in the chat said the same thing. I think y'all are right. Orbsium plus Glorious Suffering. So, yes and no, right? My concern is that this is theoretically good, but on the second cycle. And we already have 7 orbs. I think that this is still takeable because we have fully upgraded Dagorb, a fully upgraded Stone, and fully upgraded Baborb. But Glorious Suffering will make us worse at hallway fights. Period. Because so much of our kit starts below the 2-3 cutoff. That being said, I think it increases our top end substantially. And it has been buffed. It used to be +1, it's now +2. So when Orbsium hits something, it should go +2, +4, +6, +8. And then the -2, -3 is completely offset on the second volley, right? Very substantially. So I like this pick for us. I think I like it more than Sealed Conviction. We can also just take Electropegnet. It got rebuffed. Full strength for 4 seconds instead of the previous 3, and then gradual decrease over 8 instead of 7. I feel like Electropegnet and Glorious Suffering are both totally acceptable. My concern with Glorious Suffering is that with Orbsium, we just almost hit 1,000 damage. We are already able to produce that kind of damage with Orbsium. And Glorious Suffering will cause it to be completely impotent on the first cast. Future casts will be incredible, but with so many orbs in the deck and no ambidextionary, this might be the time to just try the Pegnet rework. Yeah, because we're very close to just getting the kill as is. I think this is Electropegnet. True, Nick says you could look at bombs as your hallway fight strategy and Glorious Suffering for bosses. That's true, and with 1 round of Glorious Suffering, then the second round, it'll be so strong that that'll be an insta-kill on the wall. Man, let's take the I'm gonna take Electropegnet, and here's why. Electropegnet slightly increases the chance that we can get the Easter egg. And that's why I'm gonna take it. Actually, is that even true? Does Electropegnet function during navigation? I don't actually know that. Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out soon if the rework feels strong again.